And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Signposts Live. It's good to have you all here once again today. So we are going to we're going to talk on a very intense discussion. But like I said, I'm just intuitively feeling it's going to be a lot better than what people are projecting they think is going to happen. The reason I'm doing this particular topic today about our events leading into another WW is because a lot of other people are talking about it, right? And there may be some people that are casting doom and gloom because they're not actually too sure about what's actually happening behind the scenes. Okay, so what I can say as a disclaimer is that don't be too upset relating to what is going to be shared today, because I feel it, like I said, intuitively, that there's going to be there's something a lot better coming than what we think is going to be worse. But I want you to kind of see it from the cards perspective altogether. So that's exactly why I'm doing this today, because other people are doing it and it's not painting such a good picture. And we're going to change that through our little group here Anyways, hope you're all doing well. We're going to go ahead and start off with some announcements. Here we go.
Private one-to-one sessions have returned with Brad Johnson and Adronis, with appointment times from 30, 45, and 60 minutes online. Offline sessions, including the 3 questions by email and distance healing, are now available. Book your session now through our website, wisdomtransmissions.com.
Get readings with Breanne and be astonished at the depth and accuracy she provides for you through her tarot readings. Breanne can create crystal grids for distance healing, plus offer Reiki and Kundalini attunements. She is also a certified Flying Star Feng Shui consultant. Visit Breanne's website and book your session today at readingswithbreanne.com.
Source Energy enhanced products to repair and rejuvenate the body. From the power of light to crystals to bed kits, card decks, and more. View our free samples, tutorials, and testimonials on our website, AetherX.co.
And also with AetherX, one of the most popular products we have right now for the summer is what's known as the AetherX Charge Spray. I actually do have one in my truck. I take it with me quite a bit. But this is actually a really incredible technology. Really what the AetherX Charge Spray does is it basically just contains jojoba oil and filtered water, but it contains the codes within the symbol on the aluminum spray. And I was actually just out in the forest yesterday, sitting in an area where there was a heavy concentration of mosquitoes, And with the spray on me, not a single one of them landed on me. It was a wonderful experience. I actually made a video on it for the AetherX YouTube channel and had to share it with all of you. So these are available right now. It's the AetherX Charge Spray. That's probably like our red hot summer product right now. So you can check that out on etherx.co. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's broadcast. So I do have the tarot here ready to go. Like I said, I'm just on one camera, so I'm going to be tilting the camera down, and we're going to be taking a look at are all events leading into another world war. Okay, so I was kind of hesitant in doing this, but I was just seeing other people doing it, other people talking about it. Like, really, guys, you gonna start buying into this stuff as well too? But let's go ahead, and I just want to say, okay, fine. Let's just have the cards. Take a look at this and get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, from the tarot, from what this is. Like I said, I'm not going to really do my spiel about it. I want you guys just to see what the cards say about it. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and do a zodiac spread. Then later on, we'll be taking some questions from the live audience. I do have another question as well too that will follow, but I don't know if I'll do a, maybe I'll do another zodiac, I'll see. It's basically just about unity consciousness as well too. So if we have time, I might do a second tarot spread, zodiac tarot spread on the nature of human unity consciousness, secondly, okay? Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and give these a good shuffle first, and then we'll be getting into the reading. But it's kind of interesting that people are discussing this. They are discussing the nature of WW3, or thinking that there's going to be a WW3. I've commented on this quite a bit in the past, so it's really not anything new to me about people who are trying to bring it up, but I'm just noticing that astrologers, psychics, mediums, intuitives, channels are bringing up a lot of this information about WW3, or that it's incoming, right? And I'm going to give my own perspective today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tarot, at the zodiac spread, and see what we get. Okay, so that is telling me right there, just for the first house, there is not going to be a WW3, okay? But let's keep going, okay? Let's go into the second house. So that is, again, first house representing that of Aries. And so make sure I have enough room here. Still got my pendulums lying around here, so I'm just going to move those out of the way. There we go. Okay, so first house is Aries. Second house representing Taurus. Third house representing Gemini. Fourth house representing Cancer. Fifth house representing Leo. Sixth house representing Virgo. Seventh house is Libra. Just gotta make sure I got all this on camera here so you guys can see it, okay? So far, so good. Here, just move it a little bit over this way. There we go. Okay. So seventh house representing Libra. Eighth house representing Scorpio. Ninth house, Sagittarius. Yeah, I got it right this time. How about that? 10th house, Capricorn. 11th house, Aquarius. And 12th house, Pisces. I'm going to make a little bit of room here so I can put down the 13th card. 13th card is how we respond to this whole situation. Okay. So here is the tarot zodiac spread regarding, okay, this one here, over here, has a little bit of glare on it, but as you can see, that is the card for the 11th house. Okay, I'll get to that when we get to that. Won't be so much sunlight glare on it. But this is the response in regards to, will there be a WW3? Are events leading up into a WW3? Now, this is, again, a very, very important card with it. No, I certainly do not believe anything in regards to a third world war is happening. And the reason I say that is because this really also represents a counterforces card of my own. So whenever I see this in Mars, right, Mars is kind of looking at the big picture. It's our soul. It's also looking at the nature of the ego, but it's also kind of looking at the totality of the big picture here. And it's aspected with the 7th house. So there will not be a WW3, but it's made to look like there will be. That's basically what this is telling me. It will not happen, but it looks like it's going to when it's not. This is kind of going back into the behind the scenes, in front of the scenes type situation. They're going to try and spin wars in front of the scenes. They're going to create illusions. They're going to create Hollywood sound stages. They're going to create all these things that are trying to indicate that a world war is imminent. But they would be wrong, because that's not what's happening at all. But it will be made to look like that's what's trying to happen in front of the scenes. So as I've said, guys, really, the counterforce is running the show right now. This has nothing really to do with the dark forces anymore. The dark forces basically have to go to them and appeal things to see if there's certain things that they can do to try and get them to still survive. It's like the chess game has already been won, and it's like the counterforces have already beaten them. This, again, is where it is just really, really weird, because they're playing by occult rules. And it's the strangest thing that we could imagine. But again, like I said, everything that we really see in front of the scenes is an act. It is a show. It is a theatrical stage. It is a Hollywood sound stage. So what I'm getting here with Aries aspecting together here with Libra, with the Queen of Cups, is, again, people are peering into the cauldron here, or the vase, representing like the television set, right? They are basically being suckered into believing that things are happening horribly in front of the scenes, when in fact behind the scenes it's a completely different story. There is absolutely no world war that is looking to happen. And I've talked about this many times. I've had so many people say, oh, bro, I keep feeling that there's a WW3. Like, no, it won't happen. Now, to elaborate a little bit on that further, is that there has been a secret war, right? There's certainly been a secret war, but it has not been to the totality of what we would understand as a world war, right? The idea of the secret war has been a battle for your mind, right? It's a battle of emotions. It's a battle of psychology. That certainly has been a war. There's been a kind of spiritual war taking place, right? From this realm into other realms. But as I'm tuning into that, I'm noticing a lot of that hostility that was once there is no longer there. There has been a great deal of transformation over these past couple of years that is putting a halt to a lot of that spiritual Armageddon. But again, you're going to meet a lot of people online who think they know what they're talking about because they watch the news, or they listen to other alternative experts. And these experts also don't know what they're talking about, and they think they do, believing that there is going to be a WW3. Okay, and like I said, you have to really kind of look behind the scenes for this. But I don't see anything of that nature here, particularly with this first aspect. And this is a big one. This is like a big picture aspect. So the answer is no. There will not be a WW3. Events are not leading to that. In fact, events are leading to the opposite of a world war. It's leading into clarity. Okay, let's go to the second house here, which is Taurus, which is aspecting with the 8th house, which is Scorpio. So the second house with Taurus basically represents the idea that feels that we're in a bind. Okay, so the Taurus can often represent finances. It can also represent kind of the flow of change. It can also represent business. It can also represent governments to a certain degree. It can also represent speech as well too. But it feels, like I said, there is an act being placed in front of the scenes, right? When we look at the nature of Taurus, when we see how that is aspecting here with Scorpio, it makes us feel like we're in a bind. It feels like we don't have power. It feels like people are being herded into everything, like the sheep are being moved into pens. And as long as we keep depending upon everything that's being shared in front of the scenes, then it's going to continue to look that way, right? So it feels like people are in a bind, people are going through hard times, and we're not going to deny that. There certainly is a lot of people that are going through intense times. But as I've said over and over and over and over again, if you guys are able to look at what's actually happening behind the scenes, you would not be in the bind that you are in. Okay, but we put ourselves into this bind. We put ourselves into this because we buy into what the media tell us. We buy into what the alternative experts tell us when they're almost as clueless as the mainstream media is. So we get into those particular binds. We look into Scorpio in that sense, is that we're basically being shafted. There's scandals coming in, there's secrecies, there's exposures. We're basically seeing the wolf take off the sheep's clothing. That's really what's happening. And it's a very, very strange occult game, because the dark forces are basically being ruled over now by the counter forces. The counter forces will say, well, if the people choose to expose you, that's exactly what's going to happen. And it's really hard for me to explain this to a layman who doesn't understand this kind of world, who doesn't really understand exactly how these occults work. I don't even fully understand it myself sometimes. I let spirit do a lot of the translation for me. But that's really the game that's being played, is that they can do whatever they feel they can to try to prevent exposure, but with the public, with the millions and millions or even billions of people that are already fed up with them, that basically want to have exposure, the counter forces would basically enable that to happen for them, that they are going to be exposed if that is the people's wish, and they're going to be exposed, right? So again, this is kind of the feeling of what this aspect is telling us about, right? Kind of like in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, right here. In front of the scenes, it feels like we're in a bind. In front of the scenes, it looks like war's about to break out. In front of the scenes, it looks like there's so much tension. In front of the scenes, it looks like the financial system is about to plummet. In front of the scenes, the stock market looks like it's about to collapse, and everything else. Storyline, storyline, storyline. And then we look in behind the scenes. But all of the wolves in sheep's clothing, we're seeing them with their costumes off, and we're seeing them for who they truly are. Right? So again, when it comes to the nature of, are all events leading to a world war? No, because we're starting to see an exposure behind the scenes that's going to be leaking in front of the scenes. When we go to the third house, which represents Gemini, which is communication, okay, and it's also learning as well too, learning and communication. And that is aspecting with the ninth house, which represents Sagittarius, okay? So with Sagittarius, this represents growth, okay? We are growing, we are learning, we're actually starting to work together. And even if it doesn't seem that way, the majority of people are actually starting to work together, and they're kind of planning together, they're working together, they're harmonizing together. They are making their voices heard. And like I said, I feel like this could lead to a very big revolution that's taking place. And when I see an alignment here, this is telling me I feel like that's imminent. What's very imminent is not world war. What is very imminent are people standing up and saying that they've had enough. What is very, very imminent would represent revolution. I do not see it as a World War III. I have never seen it as a World War III, and I have never agreed with it being a World War III. Never seen it. And I know a lot of people feel like that's exactly what's happening. Like, oh, okay, my God, it's World War III. No, guys, you're not listening. You're not listening to the signposts. You're not listening to the flow. You're not listening. You're not seeing exactly what is actually happening. You're not seeing the type of dominoes that are being toppled over behind the scenes. This is the furthest thing from a world war that you could imagine. It is a revolution. Are there tensions? Yes. Are there uneasiness? Yes. Are there people in that sense who have had enough of their governments? Yes. Is it leading to bloodshed on a worldwide level? No, not at all. This is leading to a revolution, right? And this is where people get confused about that, thinking that, oh my God, there's all this tension in the air, and there's all this aggression in the air, and there's all this fighting and angst about what's happening. And they immediately assume it's a WW3. And you guys are not listening to the behind the scenes. And that's what I tell those experts. You're not listening. This has nothing to do with a WW3. It has everything to do with revolution. This is about the people standing up. This is about the people taking action. This is about the people making their voices heard, right? And some people say, oh, bro, come on, the people don't matter. Oh, they matter. They very much matter. When you have billions of creators on this planet who are all thinking through the power of thought that they want peace, that they want change, that they want to shift, that they know they've had enough, and they're going to stand up to prove it. That's exactly what's going to happen. It matters. The people have always been in charge. And I've said this many times as well, too. We really are the ones in charge. There's faculty, okay, there's governance, there's moderators and so forth, but the people have always been the ones in charge. We just haven't let ourselves be in charge. That's the problem. We've put too much of our energies into other people, into governments, into politicians, into world leaders for so very long, and now we're starting to take our power back. And that is what's going to lead into a massive revolution, right? That's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm seeing here through the cards, right? When we look at this card here, this is celebration. This is showing that the communication, the learning that we're going through is being ripe with success. That's great success. That's great transformation. That is positive energy right there, okay? And it's aspecting with the King of Wands. And the King of Wands is all about power, is all about action, is all about taking action. He's all about letting his intentions be known. And that's exactly representing us as well, too. Because, again, when we're looking at Sagittarius, we're looking at the nature of good fortune, right? And where there's going to be leaders that are going to come together in power that are going to reflect the will of the people. That's where we're going, okay? When we go into the fourth house here, fourth house represents Capricorn. So this is very much like what I've talked about before, about people in that sense feeling that they're losing everything, that they're, again, having a difficult time, that some people are losing their homes. People are in that sense are feeling uneasy. They're feeling cast out by the system. And that is basically what we're seeing in front of the scenes right now. Behind the scenes, it looks like something new is going to be coming about. I don't think it's going to be taking too much longer, but there is going to be a bit of a wait period in between this, right? So basically looking at these two cards, it says like there's going to be a transitional time where it's not going to be such a struggle for people. This is where I've talked about prosperity programs. I'm not talking about Nasera, but I'm talking about the idea of prosperity programs, prosperity authorization that is going to come together through people's own governments, where there are going to be change-arounds. There may be, again, not just prosperity programs, but benefits for people where everybody will basically be able to have a home, right? No one's going to be homeless on the street anymore if they choose not to be. And I think there's going to be some prosperity programs that will give about an income. I'm not talking about the dark hat, universal basic income or anything of that nature. But I'm referring to it as prosperity funding. I'm not talking about Nasera. So I'm not talking about their twisted idea of a dark cabal universal basic income. And I'm not talking about the hopium of Nasera, but something in the middle. Okay, it feels like something is coming. But like I said, the question really represents are all events leading up into a WW3. So with this one, again, with Cancer in that sense, there's going to be shifts. This also can represent the idea of migration, the migration agenda that they've been doing as well, too. People feeling cast out because their homes are being taken over. And over the current regime that's in charge, a lot of this is still going to go on for a little bit longer. But again, this is why there is looking to be efforts to switch that around. But that switch around is still going to take a little bit of time, right? So 10th house, again, represents the nature of government as well, too. This is telling me that the entire governmental aspect is going to change. People are suffering, people are hurting, people are going through a great deal of misery in front of the scenes and behind the scenes. And like I said, I think there's going to be some major change that's going to take over, because this is what it's telling me as it's aspecting here over here on the 10th house of Capricorn, is that there's going to be victory. The people who truly vote for their leaders are going to be getting the leaders they vote for, okay? So like I said, I can never give a 100% on this, but like I said, I think it's well over 90% right now that Donald Trump will pretty much be the president of the United States, okay? Once again, I feel like he's already been that behind the scenes, but I feel like he's ready to come back into office again in front of the scenes, right? So that's kind of the feeling I'm getting there. And of course, it's the 4th of July when I'm giving this. So happy Independence Day to all of our American viewers. Okay, we just had Canada Day on the 1st. So, hope you're all having a great day here on July 4th. Hope this is brightening your day a little bit. So again, yes, there are tough times, and we're right about that. Events have been very, 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 very intense, very, very destructive, but there's a silver lining. There's a silver lining, there's a shift. We are seeing the other side weaken, and we've never really seen that other side weaken before in the many thousands of years that they have been around, right? When we're looking at the dark forces, when we're looking at the dark regime, when we're looking at the old guard, so to speak, we have never seen them in such a state of disempowerment, and that's exactly what's happening. It's not fully there yet. It's going to take a few more pushes, but those pushes are more than able to happen. Let's take a look now at the 5th house, which represents Leo. Okay, so this again represents courage and strength, our own intuition, our own counsel. People are actually thinking that this is leading to an all-out war. People are actually believing that that is actually what's taking place, is that it's going to be another world war. It's going to lead into famine and pestilence and hideousness and all of that. But as we look here at the aspect to the 11th house, which represents gains, that is not at all what's going to be happening. Okay, there is support, there is love, there is encouragement, there is transformation, right? We are looking at something that is karmically rebalancing this fear of war, of losing everything, of great loss, of material loss, of financial loss, right? Because this is really what this is about, is that people are thinking that, yeah, I think the world is going to get plunged into a gigantic war, and there's going to be all kinds of chaos, and we're going to lose everything, and the government is going to own everything, and the government is going to seize everything. But when we look at the other side of the coin, we flip the coin around, we get this. That's not at all what's happening. It's made to look like this in front of the scenes, but behind the scenes, this is actually what's going to take place. Support, encouragement, help, assistance, helping others, taking care of one another. That's what's taking place. So I don't know, guys. I hope I'm not the only one on this planet that is actually seeing this. Am I the only one on this planet that is actually seeing this? That's actually seeing something very, very powerful behind the scenes that is about to come out, and things are about to shift. I hope not. Right? I hope there are other people who are seeing it as I am, because I'm looking at some of these other people on YouTube, and all that's basically in their hearts is just a bunch of fear, propaganda, nonsense. Like, guys, do you think that's really what's happening? Do you really think that this is going to lead into a World War III? No, most definitely not. But people get afraid, and when they get afraid and they think they find something, then they start touting about it, then they start making videos about it, and they think that this is, oh my god, it's going to lead into WW3. Well, you know, there's intensities. We're not denying that. There's problems. There's people in that sense that are getting more and more frustrated by the day, and there's a boiling point on the planet. You are absolutely right about that. You're correct. There is a boiling point on the planet. There's a shift that's happening. People are upset. People are angry. People are standing up. But that is not leading to a world war. It is absolutely not. It is leading to a world revolution, as I've said for years. And I'm just seeing it more and more confirmed through this reading. So let's go to the 6th house, which is Virgo. Okay, so 6th house, Virgo, which often represents, again, labors, service, getting to the truth as well, too. And then it's aspecting Pisces. Okay, so the 6th house is we're digging what's happening here, right? We're probably getting confused because we're getting so much overwhelming amount of information. We don't know how to digest it. And then it's coming over into Pisces, and Pisces does represent a very compassionate heart. And really what we're doing is we're planting seeds. We're seeing things about to sprout. We're seeing things that have been planted for quite some time about to take root, which means there's still going to be a little bit of time for this ridiculous in front of the scenes game to play out. But the time will come where we're going to see some buds. The time's going to come out where we're going to see sproutlings. The time's going to come out where we're going to see new abundance come together, right? New material gains that are going to come together. Now, Pisces can often represent loss, but in the aspecting here, I'm actually saying it would probably represent much more of a gain. The loss is the idea of a waiting time, right? Because people want this to happen tomorrow. Unfortunately, guys, that's not up to us. That's not up to the individual. That's up to the collective. And the collective needs to play out this game. Because as I've said, this is nothing more than a coming of age ceremony. This is nothing more than a initiation for the people of the planet. Because like I said, for you to play an occult game involves initiation. It involves coming of age. It involves the hero's journey, right? That's what it's all about. That's how these occultists work. And these occultists have been at the very, very top of the ladder, playing with the architecture of this planet when it comes to humanity and human systems for thousands of years. This is an occult game, right? And this is all about the idea of people saying, are you going to just blindly, obediently follow something that you don't prefer and stay uninitiated? Or are you going to get to the truth, initiate yourself, and move into what's actually happening, realizing that you have the power in life? That's what it comes down to, right? That's what this whole occult game is about. And of course, the 13th card represents the Empress. We're about to give birth to something new. Something new is right on the horizon. And I think we can probably see that happening in 2025, right? 2025 feels like a very, very powerful year. It does feel like, again, kind of like an overhaul year at the same time. I don't have a name for the 2025 yet. So we get a little bit closer to it, because I usually give like each year a name. This year was more kind of like the year of overhaul. 2025, I feel like it's kind of it's a stepping up. It's kind of like advancing past overhaul. We're not just seeing overhaul, we're actually seeing the fruits of something together. It's like a renewal period and starting a renewal period. It is the first year of what I've been sharing with Adronis about the span of renewal. Okay, the span of change was from 2016 to 2024. At the end of 2024, a new span comes together from 2025 to 2036, and that represents the span of renewal. So I think it's the year that's starting off that renewal period, but it's still going to be going through a transitional period with 2024 and 2025. Because when we look at 2025, we're looking at the year of endings, right? A lot of things are going to culminate. A lot of things are going to conclude, because in a numerological cycle, you have the number 9 when it comes to 2025. 2 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. 9 represents endings. 9 represents the idea of the folding over of everything that we've gone through. And then when we get into 2026, that's a 1 year, right? So that really begins the official span of renewal, right? 2025 would still represent that partition of the span of renewal, but in a transitional state. It's helping to kind of guide us through the current relating to a state of renewal. And I see something very, very powerful. I see something very, very rewarding. I feel something very encouraging and supportive. And I think the latter half of the 2020s is going to be about healing. It is really about healing our wounds. And it's going to take a long time for people to fully heal themselves. Okay, this is something that is going to leave a scar, many scars, I would say, on our collective for decades. Okay, this is the whole idea, is that the awakening process is not just one day or 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. No, this is something that has left tremendous amounts of very deep scars upon all of us. And what is it that heals the world? Is the world itself. So we're going to be seeing some shifts. We're going to be seeing some people who are encouraging this, right? And maybe are in the popular mix, or in the popular flow, or maybe leaders or anything of that nature. But they're going to be encouraging healing. And with the encouragement of that healing will come new technologies. So these may represent new technologies pertaining to what was originally in the alternative therapies starting to come together. I also feel that we're going to see some pharmaceutical exposures coming here very, very soon as well too. I'm also feeling that the pharmaceutical industry is going to be shrouded in controversy between now and probably the next couple of years. And I feel that the entire pharmaceutical industry is going to plummet and is going to be overhauled at the same time into something new. So that's still something that's coming, right? We've seen little bits of working happening here with the pharmaceutical companies. And then I feel like it's going to be a massive exposure. I think there's still going to be a lot more truth and reconciliation committees going around COVID, okay, because that basically has put a lot of pharmaceuticals feet in the grave with that. And there still needs to be a lot of exposure coming out with that. So I feel like the pharmaceutical industry is going to be having a bullseye on its chest here in the next little while. And we can probably look forward to that because they have been responsible for so many deaths on this planet. And I'm not saying that to belittle any doctors or anything like that, because there are good people, right? I'm not talking about people themselves. I'm talking about the system. That system has been responsible for killing millions of people all over the world for a very, very long time. And it's about to move into exposure because we have had ancient systems on this planet far before we had any of that nonsense, that basically that entire infiltration of medicine, right? Pharmaceutical is a weaponized infiltration of medicine. That's all it is. And so it's going to be exposed here very soon, right? I feel like it's already starting to warm everything up. And I think there's going to be some campaigns that are going to be taking place that are going to bury that to the ground because it needs to. I feel big tech as well, too, is going to be buried into the ground at the same time, right? So a lot of the big companies, right? When you're looking at big pharmaceuticals, when you're looking at big technology, right? All of the big ones. And I feel like they're going to be even big as well, too, is going to be in the limelight, right? Like I said, we've had some revving here and there, but I don't think we've really seen the cannons blast pertaining to some of those big companies yet. And I feel it's coming. And I think that's what's really going to be more exposures to come, is basically completely and totally dismantling the pharmaceutical industry, completely, totally dismantling the big tech industries, the big entertainment industries, because we're seeing that with government right now. We're starting to see that take place. But it's kind of like a warming up. You have to wait for the stars to align. When the stars align, now we start to see these things happen. And those particular companies, just some examples, there's going to be more as well too. But those companies, I feel, are very much going to be in the limelight, and they're very much going to be exposed. And they're going to be completely and totally dismantled because there still are sources of income, so to speak, or rather, I wouldn't say sources of income, but basically sources of theft that a lot of the dark cabal still has access to. And they need to be cut out at every particular corner that they can get money, right? And a lot of it comes from pharmaceutical, a lot of it comes from drugs, a lot of it comes from entertainment, a lot of it comes from big media tech, right? A lot of it comes from climate change, right? All this stupid crap that they are peddling. So again, I think we've only just seen the tip of the iceberg here. We are going to see a lot more exposure. There's so much more that needs to be exposed. There's so much that needs to be dismantled. There's so much that needs to be overhauled. Behind the scenes, has this already happened? Yes. In front of the scenes? No. But it's going to. This is why I say they take care of something first behind the scenes, and it's like they have a team of writers. So okay, this is exactly what we're going to write to the media. It's exactly what we're going to write in front of the scenes about what's happening. It's like they're plotting out stories, and that becomes part of the exposure, right? So they basically have already overhauled a lot of these particular companies that I speak of, but that's not in the public eye yet. They have to write stories about it. They got to write screenplays. They got to write scripts. And then at some particular point when the stars align, okay, here's something about pharmaceutical industries. Looks like they're going to be exposed. Astrologists say, numerologists say, psychics say, mediums say, and here it is. And now we just keep talking about it. And now we're seeing places like, well, name any particular pharmaceutical company you want, whether it's Pfizer or anything of that nature, getting exposed. And it doesn't matter what kind of legal mumbo jumbo they do. There's a loophole. There's always a loophole. And that loophole gets exposed. And now it's big time exposure, right? Those are the things that I'm talking about that relate to revolution. The whole idea of revolution is the complete and total dismantling of any large anchored system that a lot of the dark cabal has used to finance themselves. And it's cutting off all of their supplies, but it needs to be done in stages. Okay. And I think if Trump does come back into the office, they're doomed, right? Everything that they run is doomed. Everything that they do is doomed. Everything about them is doomed. They themselves are doomed. Right? So, and we're going to see that play out between 2025 and 2029, right? We're going to watch them completely and totally sink, where it's not just a butt sticking up in the air with a Titanic. It's going completely and totally under. Okay, and that's what we're seeing right now. So we're seeing the butt of the Titanic, just her big butt rising in the air and then about to sink. And that's how I see it coming in. These are just my perspectives, guys. I'm not saying that this is the gospel, but this is what I'm seeing here through perspective. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go into some questions now from the audience. Okay, because we are running a little bit short on time. I did want to do one on unity consciousness. Maybe I'll do that later on. I just want to see exactly who's on here and get into donation-based questions first. So let me adjust my chair here. Kind of stuck. Okay, let's go to questions. Let's see how people are doing. Again, I'll take donation-based questions first. So if you guys want to leave a donation-based question, like I said, that will put you in priority sequence. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down the list, see if we can find some. Okay, here's one here from Eum at 142. Hello, Eum. Thank you for your donation. Hi, Brad. What will be the main trigger point for Canada's uprising revolution, COVID style? Restrictions on people's rights or freedoms or something else? I'd say it's a lot of those things of what you're mentioning, but what I've looked into in the past is it's just the taking away of people's privileges, the taking away of people's rights, taxation, right? Where people are also talking about Justin Trudeau being one who has committed treason, right? Being a treasonous pig. So I think that's already happening right now, but it just needs to be brought into a breaking point. There are thousands of reasons. There are thousands of exposures that are already taken that are extremely serious. The problem is they tried to bury these things. They tried to gaslight these things altogether. But if you want, I can take a look through a tarot reading here very quickly. And we'll kind of do a short tarot reading, just in regards to what will be the main trigger point for the Canadian uprising, okay, or revolution. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look. I can share something, but let's see what the cards have to say. Okay. Okay. So it's gonna take a little bit of time for this to happen. Okay, I don't think it's gonna take too terribly long, but this is indeed the outcome, right? So we're seeing temperance. We're seeing the idea that Canadians have to get to the boiling point. Simple as that. What are we waiting on? You guys. You have more than enough right now to completely and totally dismantle this current regime of administration. Everything's there. People aren't getting boiled up enough, right? And it's going to happen, right? Like I said, this is astrologically aligned, okay? It is going to happen. The entire administration, as it exists right now, is going to be trampled over, okay? And I know a lot of people like to ask that golden question. Yeah, but Brad, when is it going to happen, okay? And I don't have dates for you guys, right? If I basically had dates, then I'd be sharing them for quite some time, but I don't have dates, right? This is where the whole idea is that everything is brilliantly, divinely in alignment, and it's going to show itself when the stars align, okay? If I'm getting the idea, I'd probably say before the end of the year. At the end of the year, the start of the next, right? Probably in between that time. Again, Adronis has talked a lot about the idea of the inverted solstice. There's going to be a lot of events unfolding before, during, and after that time. But like I said, it needs to reach a boiling point. But this has already been dealt with. Like behind the scenes, this has already been dealt with. That's not the real Justin Trudeau you guys are seeing on the screen. That's not the real Chrystia Freeland that you're seeing in front of the scene. Those are avatars, okay? Those particular people have already been busted. They've already been taken care of. What you're basically looking at are avatars. What you are basically looking at are doppelgangers. The main cohorts in those particular administrations are not the real people. They are stand-ins. They are stage actors. They are doppelgangers. They are duplicates, okay? Same thing with Biden. You know, the real Biden has been dead for quite some time. The real Justin Trudeau, I believe, was executed back in the early 2020s. The Chrystia Freeland, same thing. So the whole idea of what you're seeing behind this, in front of the scenes, is nothing in regards to what's actually happening behind the scenes. It's almost like they have a meter. It's like there's a meter gauge, and they're saying, okay, let's measure where people are right now. Okay, well, they're getting kind of pissed off, but they're not outraged, right? And we need a lot more people to stand up. So we're going to create situations in Canada where it's going to get even worse. And we're going to make it so horrendously bad for the average person that they will say we've had enough. And as soon as we have enough people like that boiling over, switch, change, shift happening. This is how it works, my friends. This is the whole idea. Like I said, if you want revolution, if you want an uprising, well, you have to have a majority of people standing behind that. You can't just have 10% of the population of Canada standing up behind that. No, you need about 60, 70, 80%, at least 2/3, right? So that's what they're doing. They're egging people on. Like, guys, if you think that the WEF is controlling everything, you're duped. You're suckered. You're naive. Okay? The WEF is under counterforce control. They've already surrendered, and they've surrendered quite a while ago. And they are meant to go up on stage and make a complete and total ass of themselves. Because that's all part of what's written in scripts. They are being told exactly what to say, exactly what to do, exactly what to present, and go in front of a camera and show their ass to the world. Do you guys honestly think that the WEF is actually bringing about what they want? No. You're being duped. You're being suckered, right? In front of the scenes is not real at all. The people that you see in the front of the scenes are following scripts, and they are going to piss you off. That's their job. That's what basically the arrangement has been brought forward with all of them. You don't believe me, you don't have to, right? But this is exactly what I've seen for so long, for years now. It's like, these guys are just actors. They're actors, aren't they? Yes, they are actors, and they're doing a bang-up job being actors. And they're doing a bang-up job pissing people off, because that's what they're meant to do, because they've surrendered and they're basically being stooges for the counterforces, because this is a coming-of-age ceremony. Nothing of what you see in front of the scenes is real. Nothing, not one bit. It's stage acting, and it's meant to piss you off. It's meant to make you angry. It's meant to boil you over, because this is meant for the sleepers, not you guys who are awoken. Your job is to help awaken people in your own way. Your job is to go out and meditate, go out and pray, go out and bring about this era of transformation, illuminating people, because you're already there, right? One who is filled with light is going to shine. And that's all you have to do as one who already sees through all this, right? There's quite a few of you that have talked to me. Sorry, bro, I already know. This is a behind the scenes thing. I already know this in front of the scenes stuff is happening. I said, great, that's awesome. Now that you're realizing that, just shine your light. Shine your light throughout the entire world. Just help people, right? Even if they don't want to help, shine your light upon them. That's all you're doing. Help them to see by shining your light, because it is so bright, right? But please don't give in to the idea of thinking that what you're seeing in front of the scenes is how it actually is, because it's not, right? And you don't need me to tell you this. If you look inside yourself and you realize that, so you know what Brad's been saying all this stuff about in front of the scenes is not real, right? Am I talking to my inner divine self? Is this true? It's absolutely true. Nothing of what you see in front of the scenes is the real thing. It's a coming of age ceremony. It's a stage ground to try to help awaken as many people as possible, because you have bigger things to take care of after this decade. You are going to turn yourselves completely around after the 2020s. 2030s, you got a lot of work to do. And if you're not awoken by that time, you're going to have a hard time. You're basically just going to get trampled over by the world, because there's new things that are happening. There's new innovations that are happening. There are new shifts that are happening. And that's going to happen in the next decade. It's the beginning of something new. It's the beginning of a beautiful renewal period. But there's going to be significant changes. Everything pertaining to the systems that we have right now will not exist. And they are going to be destroyed. And there's going to be a new overhaul. There's going to be something new put into its place. And if you are still attaching to those old systems, when we get into the 2030s, you're going to have a hell of a time trying to adapt. And this is why we're doing this right now. Try and wake up as many people as possible so that these old systems can die out and can be put into something new that is actually rewarding, that is actually beneficial. But people still cling to these disgusting, despicable, old, ridiculous systems that cause you to go through insurmountable amounts of suffering, thinking that that's all there is. And we're doing our best to try and make it feel like things are getting worse, because things are going to start cascading. Things are going to start being taken down. The pillars are going to start falling all around you. And all of these artificial systems that have been run by dark ruling elites are now being flushed down the toilet. And you have to adapt yourself into the new changes that come. But we can't just do it, because then you think it's going to lead into something else, right? So it's kind of like you have to almost kind of pull that person, who's holding on to that post and saying, come on, that old post has got to be torn down. No, I can't live without this post. I need this post. I need this. Oh, please, I don't want to leave, right? And that's basically what happens. And now we have to start telling them the horrifying story about how that post came into being and what you're actually holding relating to what that post actually is. Ugh, I'm not touching that post anymore. We got them to let go. We got them to let go of a disgusting artificial system that has done nothing but enslave them. Hallelujah. That's exactly what's happening in front of the scenes. It's getting you guys to get your hands off that disgusting pole, off that disgusting pillar, because you know exactly how much horribleness came from erecting that particular type of pillar. And now you're being told the story. Like, oh, get that off. I wash my hands. Gross. There you go. That's exactly why all of this is happening. It's to basically frighten you guys to the point where you're taking your hands off the pillar so the pillar can fall, right? That's what's taking place. That's what's happening. Again, that's all I'm sharing through my perspective here, guys. You don't have to believe me, okay? But that's what I've always been getting, right? So justice has already been served. This is telling me, guys, it's already done. It's already done. This administration in Canada can fall like that if people get behind it enough. But right now, it's still being used as a life lesson. The life lesson is still expanding and it's growing, and it's trying to scare a lot of people to the point where they've had enough. And that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the change. So everything I share is from my perspective, my point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. Okay? There's my disclaimer. So that's what I'm getting there. Yeah. But again, it's a very good question. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. Let me see if there's any other donation-based questions. Okay, I think I saw one from Grow, sorry. Okay, so Grow says, can you see in the cards about antibiotics and mRNA? Okay, well, thing is, Grow, you need to be a little bit more specific, okay? Because I'm not too sure exactly what you're asking, pertaining kind of like to the punchline of that question. About now, basically, I have looked into a lot of things with antibiotics and mRNA, and I believe you're talking about the nature of vaccines or inoculations in that way. And that was very much the agenda. So antibiotics, they're really not even necessary. They really aren't. It's, again, a scientist's approach to try and just completely nuke what is happening inside your belly, inside your body, right? Maybe it's for your belly, maybe it's for your abdomen, whatever. To nuke it because they don't know what's going on. It's kind of like the ignorant doctor's tool, okay? It's not to say it doesn't take out, bacteria. No, it certainly does. But it nukes all the good stuff at the same time. You're dropping nukes in your body when you're talking about antibiotics. And the reason why doctors do that, because they don't really know what's going on. They really don't know. Okay, well, I don't know what's going on, so let's drop a nuke. And now here you are just going, oh my God, I can barely move. This is horrible. This is horrible. Taking antibiotics and dropping these nukes in your body because the doctor doesn't even really know what's happening to you, right? It's a funny thing. They have so much diagnoses for everything, Can you guys show me a doctor in the mainstream field who has actually cured anyone of anything? No, they never have, because they're not trained to cure. They're trained to control. They're trained to manipulate. They're trained to have customers over patients, right? And I'm not going to go too much off on a tangent on them because of censorship, but that's basically what the nature of the antibiotics is all about, right? You're dropping nukes in your body because they don't know what's going on, okay? Is it a bad thing? Well, it's taking the good along with the bad, so it's not very good. So I certainly wouldn't recommend that if people are basically just being told to take, you know what's, and thinking that's going to make them better. Then unfortunately, it's not going to be good. I really can't talk about this too much though, Grow, because of censorship. Okay. But basically, when we look at the inoculations themselves, they were all about RNA weapons. It was RNA weaponization. I have talked about this previously, I think it was a week or two ago, about what the inoculations were originally going to be. And they involved a transhumanism agenda. Fortunately, that transhumanism agenda was knocked away. It was completely and totally dismantled. And so they basically utilized these, some of these inoculations as toxic inoculations themselves, to interrupt RNA, to basically make you sick inside. The body, in that sense, basically just shriveling up over time, right? And just dying out, certain systems being shut down. So that was their fail-safe, okay? The good news, like I said, is a lot of those particular inoculations were not as widespread as they wanted. Many of the inoculations that came during that particular period were saline injections, okay? And guys, look back to my old videos, 2021, 2023, 2022, 2023. A lot of the questions that I got from people regarding the poke, and a lot of my answers were saline, salt water, saline, salt water. The majority of the inoculations were just those, okay? Some of them did have toxic effects, but not all of them, right? The majority of the inoculations that were on the planet during that period were mostly saline injections because of the counterforces, okay? So I'd say it's probably maybe about 80%, 90% saline, maybe 10 to 20% toxic, okay? That's all I can talk about, Grow, okay? We have censorship. I can't really talk about it too much. So I'm on YouTube, even though I'm on Rumble. That's great. Rumble, I can talk about all this stuff. But I'm also welcoming my audience here for Signposts on YouTube, okay? So I really can't talk about it too much. But I think you pretty much already know the story, right? I think it's already known by many people about what this is all about. I don't think you need me to tell you. But that's the good news, is the majority of inoculations that are on the planet during COVID were saline, were salt water, and not toxic, okay? So that means not as many people are sick as they think. But again, the in front of the scenes rhetoric is just saying, okay, every single inoculation was toxic, and that's what they're trying to bring it out about, because that again is a downfall to the big pharma, right? So there you go, guys. We're just looking at another part of the script. Simple as that. Okay, so thank you, Grove, for your question. Okay, I think that's all for the donation-based questions. So I'm going to go back up, and I think before I end the broadcast today, I'll do a reading on unity consciousness, because I really want to look into that. So we'll probably go on for about 20 minutes here for questions. Then I'm going to end with unity consciousness tarot reading, okay? All right, let's go. I'm just starting at the top of the chat and just working my way down. Okay. Okay. So this one here is from Fiona. Fiona says, hi, Brad. Today in the UK is voting day. Could you please look into Reform UK Nigel Farage being a good party to vote for, please? Okay, well, we'll take a look at that. Nigel Farage, okay, being a good party to vote for, okay. Well, like I said, guys, please don't take what I'm sharing here as the gospel. All I'm doing is giving you guys perspective, okay? Your own deep intuition, your true nature, your heart will always lead you correctly, right? It's not about what I say. It's not about what other people say at the same time, right? All we're doing is giving you perspective. If you guys are resonating, this is what I say. If you guys are resonating with what I'm saying, you know in your heart that the words that are coming out of me is the truth, great, act on it. If you feel that what I'm sharing is not for you, that's okay. You can throw it away, right? I'm not saying you need to shove this down your throat, okay? But so when I look at this reading here, this is just a perspective, Fiona, okay? Do not say, oh, Brad said this and Brad said that, right? If I'm saying something and it hits you in the heart, say, yeah, because I feel that too. Well, that's the reason you should act, is because this hits you in the heart, right? Your heart tells you, all right? So let's see how things go here. About the Reform UK Nigel Farage being a good party to vote for. All right, let's take a look. And I'm just doing kind of a short tarot here, real quick. The cards aren't really telling me a yes or a no here, Fiona, okay? And like I said, this is mostly a question, an answer for you, okay? You have to kind of make up your own mind about that. Okay, it's not really saying a yes, it's not really saying a no, it's kind of a, you have to kind of look into it, because I think it's also pertaining to this party that there are many different shades of gray with them as well too, okay? If you decide to look into that with the Reform UK Nigel Farage, right, it may be that you're leading into the right way, but you have to kind of look a little bit more deeper into your heart about why you think they would be someone good to vote for, okay? So this is kind of the behind the scenes. It's telling you, listen to your heart. So it's kind of like it's giving you the same response here, right? Listen to your heart. We can't really tell you. It's say you're kind of on the right track, but we want you to listen to your heart a little bit more about if that's a person you want to vote for. Really, it's not something you need to ask somebody else about, okay? You already know in your heart what the answer is. And it says, like I said, there's shades of gray with this person. You have to kind of look a little bit more deeper. But as I said, you're kind of on the right track with that thinking. But like I said, hear it from your heart, right? Hear it from your heart, and there comes rich reward, okay? So that's what I can share about that. So I think you're on the right track, but feel it. Feel a little bit more in your heart. If you know that if you do decide to vote and it is for this person, you want to have that, you want to kind of have that positive heart flutter, right? And say, yes, this is the person who I feel I can get behind. Well, great, then go for it. But let your heart do the talking, okay? Thank you, Fiona, for your question. Okay, let's see. So here's one from MLK. MLK says, hi, Brad. France just had to vote for the new parliament. Could you let us know what this vote will bring to France and who may win? Thank you. Okay. So the voting for new parliament. So let's take a look. It's interesting that that's happening. Again, that indicates that there's some shifts taking place in France, because we looked at France before in the past, not too long ago. And looks like things are starting to shift, as I said that they would. Right? Looks like things are going to start moving, transforming, shifting for France. And by this, with a vote from Parliament, that's a big shift. There's a confirmation right there. Okay, so let's take a look at this new vote and what this may bring. Okay, and who may win. I can't really say who will win because I don't really follow French politics, but we can see what this is bringing. Okay, guys, I'm never going to tell you, oh, 100% this party's going to win, or 100% that party's going to win. I'm not going to tell you that. So I want you guys to kind of feel that for yourselves. But I'll give you an outlook, a forecast of what is basically happening behind the scenes pertaining to this parliament vote. Okay. So what I'm getting is that it's a very good thing. Okay, this represents new leadership. Okay, I can't tell you who it is. I can't tell you who's responsible because, guys, I don't follow French politics. I barely follow my own Canadian politics, let alone in other countries. So I'm not a political analyst, guys. I couldn't care less about that stuff. Politics doesn't mean a damn thing to me, right? But I know you guys are interested about that, right? So like I said, this is talking about new leadership. New leadership is imminent for France, okay? So there's going to be a lot more introspecting. There's going to be a lot more analysis. There's going to be a lot more digging into things. And I think there may be the idea of an expulsion or maybe the idea of an ejection of a particular party or an exposure on a particular party. But a big surprise is about to hit, right? There's a big emotional surprise in store. I think that it's a truth explosion. I don't want to say a truth bomb, but I already did. But it feels like a big truth explosion is imminent for France, okay? And it's going to lead you guys into a very good direction. So this does look like new leadership. A person who you feel is behind collectively, that you feel in that sense, someone who you'd like to see being brought into the office, I feel that may be a good chance. I'm not giving you a guarantee with that. I'm not putting a stamp on that because, like I said, I'm not going to be talking about other parties. But what is happening pertaining to this vote is going to lead into a very tremendous positive shift as far as the political arena goes for France. Okay, that's what I'm going to tell you about that. Like I said, I don't know. I don't follow French politics. Okay. Thank you for your question, Emma. Okay. Okay, let's go down a little bit further. All right. Okay. So just give me a moment here, guys. I'm just reading out some of the comments here. Okay, let me go further down a bit more. Just a lot of comments. Okay, this one here is from Jan. Jan says, "Hi, Brad. A question. Will France winning the next presidential with Marine Le Pen affect the European Union dissolution?" Thank you very much. Some of me is going like, huh? What? Huh? So I just don't follow this stuff here, guys. I know you guys are quite informed about what's actually happening, but I have no idea. But let's take a look just in regards to forecast of things. Again, guys, I will never give my personal opinion on other people, right? It doesn't matter if it's really, really popular figures or anything like that. I don't give my personal opinion on them. Professional opinion is fine, but personal, no. So will France winning the next presidential with Marine Le Pen affect the European Union dissolution? Okay. So are they going to basically get dissolved out of the European Union with this presidential election coming up? Okay. So let's take a look at, will France leave the European Union because of this election? Okay. That just makes it a little bit easier. All right. Let's take a look. Seems like it. Okay. Certainly seems like there will be an upheaval relating to their relationship with the EU. Okay. Because the EU, again, is just no more different than these big organizations, right? Just the big guys basically tumbling over. Okay. So I'm getting that feeling as well, too, that yes, there will be a major shakeup in the European Union as far as France is concerned. And I feel like they are going to, not right away, but eventually leave with the idea of an election, however the election brings itself out. Like I said, this is a big surprise because we just looked at France, right? And it's basically showing me the same kind of cards. It's showing me the same kind of cards, the exact same cards, just as before, okay? Introspection is being done. New leadership is being appointed. So complete and total rejection. These are the exact same 4 cards I got before, okay? If you guys think that I'm just manipulating the cards or anything like that, you would be wrong. This is just all shuffling. And again, I had these exact 4 cards in the previous reading. And I gave that deck a very good shuffle, okay? They're just arranged a little bit differently, but it's saying the exact same thing. With the idea of an election, everything pertaining to France is going to change. Its relationships in regards to the EU is going to change. How it conducts business together with its government to its people is going to change. Everything is going to be shaken up with France. Okay, that is what I can tell you. So a lot to look forward to. Okay, France is going to be going through a big shift because a few weeks ago I looked into France and I said the exact same thing, that they're about to go through a transformative shift and that the problems that you're having with France are going, the problems that the French people are going to have is going to transitionally shift. And this is a confirmation of that right there. Okay, so like I said, guys, just hear this out. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, throw it aside. I don't care. Okay? I don't care about any of this stuff. I'm sharing this stuff because you guys are interested in it, right? So that's what I'm getting for the second question pertaining to France. Yes, it looks like they're going to be leaving the EU. It feels like everything is going to be changing. It feels like France will be kind of like a quote-unquote counterforce country. Okay? And they're going to be shifting. Wouldn't surprise me maybe down the road if they start becoming independent, a sovereign nation as well too, okay? So that's the feeling, that it feels like really good things are ahead for France, okay? When I'm kind of looking at it, if I'm looking at it intuitively, if I'm putting the cards aside and I'm looking at France right now, there feels like there's going to be a major amount of abundance. It feels like they're going to be really, really big on trade. It feels like their economy is really going to be growing a lot more. And I feel like they may lean a little bit more towards maybe the BRICS alliance, right? Maybe again with the large, they'll be getting out of all the old regime, G7, G20 garbage. All of that's going to be gone, and they're going to move into something else. Their economy is going to change. Their ability to trade is going to be strong. Just everything about them feels like a blossoming flower. Okay, France is about to significantly blossom. That's what I'm getting, and that's just me looking at it intuitively. I say you guys go ahead and do it, right? Am I the only one feeling this, right? Tune into France right now and see what you're feeling, okay? It's kind of like I'm looking at a garden where I'm seeing all of these things bloom. I'm seeing everything blossom. I'm seeing the sun shining down on France, and that is a good analogy because France is now starting to move into the right direction post-election, okay? Because I feel that they're going to be much more counterforce than being run by old elites anymore, okay? So very good times ahead for France. If you don't believe me, well, hey, go to your intuition. I'm not the only one on this planet that should have intuition, people, right? Look into it and see what you get. Okay. Okay, life is magic, and I don't think I really need to do a tarot on this one because I've talked about this, but life is magic is saying, will there be controlled lockdowns in certain parts of the world, example, US, for more arrests to take place? No, okay? You don't need it. They don't need to have lockdowns for arrests to take place. Lockdowns in that sense represented a different degree. It was basically representing the idea of deployment in certain ways, but that's already been done, right? Like I said, the counter forces primarily are the ones that are running things now, and they're all over the world. They're in every particular country there is, and the lockdowns enabled that to happen. There's a lot of deployments that we're taking together. So if you feel that there's going to be controlled lockdowns, I doubt it. Okay, if you feel that there's going to be martial law imposed, I doubt it. And a lot of this is really going to happen in its own way. They already know how to do covert missions very, very well, and they have all the appropriate amount of deployment needed to carry this out. There have been arrests happening before, during, and after the COVID situation, okay? And it's still continuing to happen right now. You do not need lockdowns to do this, okay? They have basically developed themselves to the point where this can be handled quite well. And like I said, I think a lot of these things have already happened, okay? The idea of more arrests happening, everybody that really needed to be taken down has been taken down. Everybody who's really needed to be apprehended has been apprehended. That's what I'm getting, guys. If you're seeing something different, then I really don't know why you're here on this channel with me. But like I said, this is what I'm sharing through perspective. Behind the scenes, a lot of the stuff has already happened. In front of the scenes, it's going to be regurgitated. It's going to be watered down because it needs to be things for the common person to digest, right? There's a lot of other things that are happening behind the scenes that are so incredibly fantastic. The layman person wouldn't be able to digest it. It just couldn't happen, right? So this is exactly what happens. Events take place behind the scenes that could be quite intense, quite, out of this world, but then they get severely watered down in front of the scenes for the average person to digest, okay? So when you're looking at the idea of there are going to be more controlled lockdowns, no, guys, the dark forces are pretty much already beaten. They're pretty much already done. They're pretty much already finished, right? If we still think that they have a lot of power, then you're really deluding yourself. And check in with yourself if you don't believe me, okay? A lot of what's happening behind the scenes will eventually water it down in front of the scenes to share certain things. And if there are lockdowns, what's stage lockdowns? It's things that are happening that's fitting the narrative of what's being shared in front of the scenes. But it's not even a real lockdown. It's just basically to put continuity onto something relating to an in front of the scenes story. But behind the scenes, no. I think a lot of things, a lot of the majority of the stuff happening behind the scenes right now has already been taken care of, right? Counter forces have pretty much already prevailed. It feels like that king has already been knocked down. Feels like, here we go. The counter forces already won the game. They've already beaten the chess game, right? And now the dark forces, for what remains, basically have to answer to them. But they always let the power of the people shine and say, well, if the people want you to be completely exploited, we're not going to deny them that, right? So like I said, look into these things yourself and see what you get as well too, because that's what I've been getting for years. And when I'm going back to what I've shared for years, I'm seeing it come into fruition again and again and again and again. Some people even thought that COVID was going to erupt again last summer, last fall. And I said, no, it's not. Once you have played that card is done. And what happened, guys? There was no re-eruption of COVID, just as I said. Okay, there's certain things, like I said, that I'm sharing, and they are coming to pass. There are some things that I've shared, they have not yet come to pass, and that's okay. But all I'm saying is that when you trust your intuition, you trust your heart, you're going to be amazed at the comfort you feel, and you're going to be amazed at what actually does come together when you trust your heart. Okay, and we all can do that. Okay. All right. Okay, this is just kind of a comment from Judith. Judith says, I'm listening and have listened to the past 5 years, 100% correct, no war. Close, but no, I have followed many patriots, David Nino Rodriguez, Juan O'Savin, Tarot by Janine, Tarot by Isabella, Cliff Hyde, etc. Okay. Well, that's great. Like I said, I'm not going to bash anybody, and you know, some people are correct and some people are not correct, and I'm not going to name names. Like I really have a lot of respect for Janine. I've had Janine on here very much. I adore her. I think she's wonderful. She's a friend of mine, right? And I've even had some people saying, "Oh, Brad, why are you talking to Janine? And why are you talking to her? And she's talking about different things. She's talking about the idea of this and that." I said, guys, I don't give a crap. I see her for who she is. I see her heart. And she's a loving, wonderful person. And I love Janine, right? I don't care if you guys have political views. Why do you think I'm going to join cancel culture? Just because you have a different political view than me? But don't be ridiculous, right? The whole idea of the love of the heart is that your love should not be conditional when it comes to people you have rapport with. Why would you do that? Oh, this person has a different viewpoint than me. I guess I'm going to have to cancel culture her. Then you're extremely immature and naive. And you're a fool. Simple as that. Okay? If you truly have a deep friendship for somebody, if you truly have a love, an appreciation for somebody, let it be steadfast. Rather than say, oh, they said something else that I didn't agree with, and I'm going to cancel them now. Yes, then you're a complete and total fool and a bozo. Right? Simple as that, because that's ignorance, right? The foolish truly represent the ignorant. And that is not how I am. I have nothing but love for Janine. I haven't talked to Isabella, Tarot by Isabella, but I've seen some of her videos. She's very good as well, too. I haven't really checked out the 107 guy or the Cliff Hyde. I don't even know those two. So, so I can't really say. But Janine, wonderful. I've always had wonderful respect for her and appreciation of what she's doing, because she doesn't have to do this stuff, and she does. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the work that she does. And I think a lot of you guys are here because you were introduced to Janine first, and then you came to me second, right? There's some of my regulars here that represent subscribers, and I'm grateful that you guys are here. But like I said, I just get these people once in a while saying, "Oh, Brad, why are you liking Janine? She's talking about all this stuff, and you know, she thinks that this exists and that exists." Like, why would I care about that? Why would I care about what her beliefs are? Right? Try loving someone for their heart. Try loving someone for their soul. Try loving someone for their spirit, rather than what they say, just so you have an opportunity to press a button and cancel them like a fool. Right? And that's what I basically have to say to the entire cancel culture, is you're a bunch of fools. Right? And that's all it is if you don't match with my opinion, you're out of here. Then you're a fool. Simple as that. Right? You haven't learned to love the heart. You haven't learned to love the soul. Try doing that and grow the hell up. Right? There's my answer to the cancel culture, right? They're just a bunch of fools. Okay. Let me go down to more questions. I'm just getting some more comments here. Okay, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to see if I can get one more question. Then I'm going to go to that last reading about unity consciousness. Okay, I might scroll down closer to the bottom. Okay. Okay, I don't think I have any more donation-based questions as far as I can see. Looks like it's fine. Okay. Just give me a minute here, guys. I'm still just looking. Okay, let's go to Krati's post here. Krati, hello. Hi, Brad. What about India, the richest man in India? Ambani is controlling India's government. I wish to know what will Indians do about it. Okay, well, let's take a look quickly at India and the Indian government and see what we're getting. Let's see. So Ambani is controlling India's government. I wish to know what will Indians do about it. Well, it's basically going to lead to uprising. It's going to lead to revolution, right? Just as many other countries are about to go through. But let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. There's a reason why I put the cards down first, because it helps to direct the reading, right? Not because I'm 100% buying into what they're telling me, but it's the idea in that sense that's directing where I take what I'm getting intuitively coming through here, okay? And it's also a lot of times confirming what I'm getting at the same time. So, okay, well, what is the result here? Okay, well, here we go. So what does this card look like to you guys? This looks like celebration. This looks like joy. This looks like happiness. This looks like resolution. Looks like something that was horrible is coming to an end, and there's a much brighter picture in store for India. Are we sure that a rich man is controlling the Indian government? Where did you hear that? Okay. Did you hear that from a journalist? Did you hear that from somebody in the grapevine? Because that's not what I'm getting. Okay. There are, again, a lot of shifts, a lot of scuffles taking place. I'm not saying that the Indian government is picture perfect, but from what we think is actually happening may not be the truth. Okay. So like I said, I feel like there's a lot of shuffling. I feel like there's a lot of skirmishes taking place internally in India's government. Okay. Behind the scenes, like I said, I feel that people may feel like they're being shackled and they're being hurt. And again, that the Indian government is, like I said, corrupt, okay, and that it's kind of at a standstill. But I'm also feeling that there's a lot of good things that are happening for the Indian government that's not being shown, okay? And like I said, there's a lot of overhaul being done for the Indian government. So again, this is very similar to what I've been getting with many other countries, okay? So the richest man in India, whoever it may be, again, I'm not, you say it's Ambani, all right? I don't feel like they may have enough stroke, a lot of stroke that we think they do, okay? Because what I'm seeing here right at the outcome is something very, very glorious, something very powerful, something abundantly powerful that's about to unfold, okay? So like I said, I feel like it's going to lead to a revolt. I feel it's going to bring about a lot of shakeup and things are going to be changing because something has already taken place behind the scenes. Right. So right now it's kind of like we're buying time. There's probably going to be some announcements. There's probably going to be exposures in front of the scenes that may indicate a whole new narrative that's going to come about. Okay. And that we may be seeing some things that at the surface may seem disappointing, but behind the scenes, there's rich reward. Okay. So I feel like, again, a transitional government looks like it's taking place here for India right now. Okay. So India doesn't seem like it's in as bad a shape as we're meant to believe. Okay. Big surprise, right? Just out of many other countries that I've heard, like people say, oh my God, Brad, it's horrible. In my country, it's like this and it's like that. And I start pulling the cards. I say, are you sure about that? Okay. In front of the scenes, it certainly does look bad. Behind the scenes, it certainly doesn't. Okay. And like I said, guys, this is meant to happen because it's all part of a coming of age ceremony. Okay. An awakening process. Thank you, Krati, for your question. All right, so I'm going to conclude this with a quick reading. I don't think I have time to do another big zodiac spread, but I will do a decent-sized reading about unity consciousness, right? Is humankind moving closer into unity consciousness? Okay, that's the question that I'm going to ask. Is humankind moving closer to unity consciousness? And let's see what the cards have to say about that. And then I'll follow up. I think it's a good question just to end on today with the exciting broadcast we've had. Okay. Okay. So I'm doing kind of a short and sweet one here. Right now, people are angry. Okay, this is kind of like just saying, well, this is how it is right now. Right now, people are upset, people are angry, and we're basically we're measuring the entire world right now in regards to what is the collective going through right now? Hurt, pain, suffering, unease, wondering about what's happening. Is there a war coming? Are we going to fight? Are we going to survive? What do I do to survive, etc.? That's our snapshot right now. Okay. And then again, people thinking that they're going to lose everything that they have. That here's the higher order, and here they am being cast out. Right. But that's again the hope of the fear card. People are afraid. People are not really hopeful right now. They're very afraid, thinking that they're going to lose everything. That everything representing their material gain is going to be taken away from them, and they're cast out into the cold, suffering, hurt, ill, injured, etc. That's where the collective still sees themselves. Behind the scenes, however, it's very, very different. But in order for that to happen, the stars need to align, right? There's great abundance coming together. Let's look at this particular card as well, too. And things are about to start moving. I would say that this nightmare in front of the scene scenario is at the tail end of ending, okay? And moving into unity consciousness will happen. It most certainly will happen. It's not going to happen right away. But like I said, once there is the opportunity for healing on the planet, because like I said, this is all just a cleanup. And unfortunately, a lot of us are feeling the slings, the rocks, the arrows that are being hit with us pertaining to this necessity of how we wake up the majority of the people on this planet, right? And unfortunately, it can't be done with a kind and gentle approach. It can't be done with an approach of thinking, oh, it's okay, guys, you're going to get through this, right? And we're just trying to encourage people. It just won't work, right? It's like trying to eat soup with a fork. It's not going to work. Rather, what they have done on a psychological level is to make it seem like people are going to lose everything. And when they feel like they're going to lose everything, they're going to demand justice. They're going to demand action. But instead of just getting that demand of action, they're going to be shown exactly what they've been holding on to. You're going to look at that nasty, filthy pillar that you're holding on to see exactly what it represents. And that is what's going to release your grip. Okay? Because we've been clinging to a blood-soaked pillar since the day that we were born. And now it's time to get away from that blood-soaked pillar and realize that there's something greater coming, but it requires the cooperation of the majority of the people on the planet. We have to get behind it. In order for that to happen, we got to release ourselves from the blood-soaked pillar so that we can now see exactly what's around us. This is their psychology. We basically have to make it feel like people are losing everything. And as they're losing everything, they're going to distrust everything that represents that system because they know that those systems are not here for their benefit, and they're going to finally release their grip of the blood-soaked pillar. So the blood-soaked pillar can now fall, and now a beautiful new pillar can be erected, right? But not to be grasped onto, but that's up to the person itself. So this is telling me that, yes, there is most definitely going to be unity consciousness. We are going to live on a planet where people will start to understand each other. We are going to live on a planet where it's not going to be about separation consciousness. It's not going to be about dog eat dog. It's not about the unbelievably absurd cancel culture. It's not about the idea in that sense of living where you feel like the government owns everything, or basically the government is trying to make everybody completely and totally non-binary. And immigration is, again, on the rise to the point where everybody loses the jobs that they have, or that their home life is being sabotaged, or anything of that nature. Can you imagine a world where none of that is happening? Where there's no more suffering, where there's no more poverty, where there's no more starvation, where there's no more homelessness. That's the world that we're moving into. But like I said, things need to get worse first before they get better. And they get worse because they're trying to get you to unwrap yourself from the blood-soaked pillar that you feel you've needed, because none of these systems are in harmony with life. They all have to die. And again, for those who just cannot unshackle themselves from the pillar, they will fall with the pillar. And that's what's happening. And that's why, again, webcasts like this are being shown to tell you guys this is exactly what's happening, right? I'm not working with the counter forces in the way on a government level. I think maybe some people think, oh, maybe Brad has all these secrets. Maybe he's like working for some of these secret societies. I can only assure you, no, I'm not. I haven't really left my home. This is my home right here, okay? In Langley, BC, in Canada. I have not done that. But like I said, I can't really convince you of that, right? I can't even really convince you that I exist. You guys can't even convince me that you exist. So there you go. We're kind of at a standstill. But all I'm getting, all what I've ever gotten, is just looking inside the heart, listening to my intuition, listening to what spirit has to share. And lo and behold, this is what it is. And I do see a world that is so beautiful. I see a world that is the complete and total opposite of how we've been living for centuries. And that's the world that we're living in, right? And in hindsight, if we're looking back at the past several hundred years compared to where we live right now, things have actually gotten better. Now, a lot of people may not agree with me on that, but there's a lot more convenience in the world. There's a lot more accessibility in the world. We're able to talk to each other here just through a computer screen, right? You couldn't do that in the old days. You didn't know what was happening on the other side of the world, and we could do that today. And we take that for granted. We have internet connections. We can interact with each other. We can appear on video and we can talk to each other. We didn't even have that a couple of decades ago, and we can do that, right? There's a lot of things in this world that have been of a great convenience. There's a lot of things in this world that have great accessibility to ourselves that we do not see. Why? Because humanity is all about trying to attain perfection. But it does not even look at the errors of its ways to correct them, to realize what perfection truly is. There's a lot more available to us accessibility-wise, convenience-wise today than there ever has been. Are we an enlightened species? Certainly not. We're more like spoiled brats. Okay? And the whole idea is that we take all these things for granted. We expect everything to be perfect. All these systems that we have now made a part of our lifestyle, when we haven't even understood ourselves. We're just hooked on the externals. And when you start to look into the internalness of yourself, and then you see the reflections of everything, you become a lot more appreciative. And that is the unity consciousness that I talk about. People who are much more internally inclined rather than externally inclined. That's the world we're moving into. And I'm looking forward to that time. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on the Signpost Live today. I will see you all again next week. I will not be doing a AetherX Live webcast this week. Be next week. I got to catch up with some work. So next week I'll have another AetherX healing webcast taking place next Friday. But tomorrow I will not be available. But I hope you've enjoyed everything pertaining to this episode. Feel free to share it around. Give it a like, comment, share, subscribe. That always helps the channel. All right. And thank you very much for tuning in. I'll speak to you guys next week. Namaskar, and may it be well with you. Take care.